Hello and welcome. You're watching Nimasa this week. My name is Iretiola Doyle and I'm your regular host. Because of the importance attached to the continuous engagement of stakeholders within the maritime sector by the Director General, Ziakede Patrick Abubulukemi, Nimasa this week will revisit the stakeholders' breakfast meeting hosted by the DG himself in Lagos recently.
The recent Nimasa stakeholders breakfast meeting held at the imposing Best Western Hotel Victoria Island, Lagos was a hugely successful event by every standard. Stakeholders in the maritime sector, including expatriate industry players, turned out in their numbers for the latest engagement with a regulator which has consistently demonstrated a desire to carry them along in the implementation of policies. Director General of Nimasa, Ziakede Patrick Akpobulokemi, set the tone for the day's interactions.
We are here today because we want to create a peaceful maritime environment so that your business activities should go unmolested.
The focal point of the day's proceedings, however, was a presentation on the new regulations for the monitoring and protection of the marine environment, an issue which struck a familiar chord with quite a number of the stakeholders. The legitimate concerns of these stakeholders were recognized by the Nimasa DG, who took pains to assure them of the continued and unalloyed support of the agency through the fostering of a safe and friendly business environment. Mr. Akpobulokemi was, however, quick to draw attention to the growing incidents of false alarms and claims by some of the vessel operators.
Well, let me use this opportunity in letting Nigerians know that most of the alarms raised are politics. It pays those insurance companies so much in raising the alarm, raising the flag that there's a piracy attack. And if they don't do so, they can't collect that money from the shipping companies. If the way they have painted us is the way we are, by today, no vessel can come into this country.
In the end, the stakeholders were unanimous in giving Nimasa a pass mark.
They are on the right course. The right course is developing shipping, is creating employment, is generating funds.
I believe this new Director General, he's been here a year. He took his time to understand the industry, and I can see that he's making bold steps now to address relevant issues.
I think it's a very worthwhile exercise. It certainly lets everybody in the industry be aware of what Nimasa's role is and the implications for us all.
While the head of public relations at Nimasa, Haja Lami Tumaka, underscores the necessity for this gathering, renowned economist Professor Pat Utomi advocates for the exploration of new levels of interaction between Nimasa and maritime industry stakeholders.
We realized that there's a gap, between us and our stakeholders. A lot of happenings, positive happenings, if I may say so, within the agency is not quite known to our stakeholders. So we came together and decided, look, we need to break this ice.
There is need for greater collaboration between the players in the sector. If we can take that general orientation and cooperate, I think that our country will be better for it. The various stakeholders, shipping companies and all of that will be more profitable for it.
Director General of Nimasa, Ziakede Patrick Akpobulokemi's single-minded resolve to pursue an all-inclusive regime of interaction with maritime sector players may yet hold the key to a liberalized and result-oriented industry, especially for the local stakeholders.
In the course of that report, people who are conversant with the recent activities of Nimasa may have recognized Captain Romeo Itima, who unfortunately lost his life not long after that event. He died in a boat mishap at Escravos in Delta State in the line of duty while fighting pirates and robbers at sea. In a related report, Nimasa arraigned a number of suspected sea pirates this week.
Sea robbers last week delivered an immediate reminder of their dastardly activities on Nigerian waterways by attacking one of the interdiction vessels recently launched by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Nimasa. The surprise attack on the vessel, Nimasa Burutu, as it was being deployed on anti-piracy duties somewhere in Brass, Bayelsa State, triggered a series of events which led to substantial losses, including the life of a technical partner to Nimasa, Captain Romeo Itima. According to a statement issued by the head of public relations at Nimasa, Haja Lami Tumaka, Captain Itima died when he was dislodged into the sea after his vessel ran into a submerged portion of a breakwater in Escravos in Delta State.
The boat crew and its security, totaling 7, were on routine patrol, checking papers of vessels around the area for legitimacy, but surprisingly drew fire from the bunker barge Ocean Treasure on approach, prompting a gun duel and a chase. Since the patrol boat did not envisage this situation, it had to beat a retreat and head for the mother vessel, accompanying it in order to re-strategize because equipment on board were also damaged and darkness was fast approaching. It was on its way back to the mother vessel around the Escravos Forcados area that the patrol boat ran into a submerged section of the breakwater, damaging all of its 4 engines and dislodging 2 of its occupants, including Captain Romeo, who eventually died.
According to Haja Tumaka, the management of Nimasa under the Director General Ziakede Patrick Akpoblokemi spared nothing in its efforts to bring the culprits to book in the aftermath of the attack. In the meantime, Commander of the Maritime Guards Command of Nimasa, Captain Promise Dapa, who took journalists out to sea for a close inspection of empty ocean treasure, disclosed that as at the time of arrest, the vessel had on board 300 metric tons of illegally refined AGO or diesel. He explained that the patrol vessel, which came under attack, was part of a comprehensive campaign by Nimasa to destroy the route of illegal mining and refining of petroleum products in Niger Delta region. The captain of the 1,000-ton vessel, Empty Ocean Treasure, is still on the run. Nimasa says investigation into the pirate attack is ongoing. In the meantime, the agency has handed over the 10 suspected sea pirates in its custody to officials of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
Recruitment of personnel into the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, is considered a very crucial exercise, mainly because of the nature of its functions, which basically affects the heartbeat of the country's economy. As we speak, the agency is conducting one such exercise as it recently concluded an interview session for a batch of shortlisted candidates. This has afforded us the rare opportunity to interact with interviewees, personnel of Nimasa, as well as a team of management consultants handling this session. We have that report for you now.
A painstaking process of interviewing the over 2,000 shortlisted candidates from the reported 85,000 applicants of the Nimasa recruitment drive is currently taking place at a hotel in Lagos. Nimasa this week was privileged to witness one of the proceedings recently. A high-powered panel made up of very senior officers of the agency as well as the managing partners of the human resources consultants conducted the interviews for legal officers. Anxious candidates could be seen awaiting their turn to be interviewed. It was clear to all that the stakes were high. The consultants handling the exercise assured us that the process has been transparent and that every effort was made to ensure that the exercise was insulated from any form of pressure.
importantly, we didn't have people's names. We gave people unique numbering. Nobody knew their numbering until the day of the examination. So the numbering was given on that day. You didn't know if you're going to be number 1 or number 110 or 2005.
The engagement of consultants for the process, which hitherto would have been carried out solely by officers of the agency, was an issue that aroused some curiosity. Nimasa this week sought the view of the consultants as to why they were brought into the process and what, if there are any advantages, they bring to the table.
It's very important to have such important process as the recruitment outsourced to independent consultants who would run a free, fair, objective and transparent recruitment process.
One striking feature of the exercise was the fact that the shortlisted candidates were indeed very qualitative. A good number of them paraded enviable academic credentials and all appeared to be highly motivated to contribute their quota to the development of the maritime industry.
I chose Nimasa because, first of all, when I was doing my year of national service, I worked in a pollution management firm that deals with ships generated waste, and my interest, picked up, it developed from there.
So throughout the period of my studies, I felt an inborn desire to work for an organization like Nimasa in order to fulfill my personal career dream of being a maritime lawyer.
The quality of the candidates and the prospects they represent for a virile and effective Nimasa was not lost on the senior officers of Nimasa on the panel.
It has been an impressive outing so far. We've had good people who have requisite experience, requisite knowledge and understanding of a job, and like I said earlier, it just underscores the abundance of human capital the country is endowed with.
Because of the way and manner it has gone, we have seen quite a lot of people even coming all the way from the United States, Nigerians, and in the UK coming for this particular interview. And there are quite a lot of them well experienced in the maritime sector.
Being invited for the interview was in itself an accomplishment, given the fact that nearly 100,000 persons applied for the advertised positions. By the admission of the candidates themselves, the exercise was highly competitive.
The process was really hectic, it was challenging, because even for the test, we didn't know where the questions were coming from, we didn't really understand, but we had to try and prepare.
I would say the very first, the application process, the written exam, it was a bit hectic, to be honest. It wasn't all that easy. But we wrote the exams, they were able to make their pick, and here we are.
Having regard to Nimasa's renewed commitment to its mandate, one is not surprised at the elaborate extent and the attention to detail that has attended this recruitment exercise. We all the same inquired from the senior officers present why Nimasa had to embark on this exercise.
Nimasa is a regulatory agency, and that is why it is more important that those who actually come in or who are part and parcel in terms of the human resources are real professionals.
The vision of the current chief executive is to put in place an agency that is alive in all ramifications to its responsibilities, one as a regulatory agency, and two, supporting an agency that supports capacity building. So, it's no surprise, therefore, that we're undertaking this recruitment.
The resolve of the agency to recruit only the best candidates from the pool of applicants and the efforts to insulate the process from political or social pressure was further underscored.
In today's Nigeria, merit is the prime factor. Gone are the days when you recruit based on I know this person, I know that person. It's a transformation process, and that is why for us we had to go through that rigorous process.
The credibility or otherwise of the entire recruitment exercise would have counted for nothing if it did not satisfy or engender the confidence of the candidates themselves.
I'm satisfied with the level of transparency put into the process by the organizers. It was extremely transparent, I must say.
The panel that has just interviewed me, I think they're on point, they're on top of their game, they know what they're doing, so I think it looks very good. I'm prepared to take the outcome of the result, whether it favors me or not.
In keeping with the subject of the agency and recruitment, Nimasa this week sought out both the Administration and Human Resources Department of Nimasa on the rationale and parameters on the ongoing exercise.
Getting the right people into the right positions is usually considered the first step in the attainment of efficiency in any organization. The big challenge before any such corporate organization, therefore, is to seek ways of managing the delicate balance between different levels of objectivity while considering persons for employment. For the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, the emphasis on the delivery of optimum performance at all times makes it highly imperative to recruit men and women who are not only professional in orientation, but are also driven by a sense of integrity and self-validation. However, in the words of the Director of Administration and Personnel Services at the agency, P.C. Mbemena, abiding strictly by the dictates of merit in the selection of candidates for employment could be subject to different types of pressure, some of which have in the past affected the quality of output at the agency.
In the past, there had been pressure from politicians, those in government, those in the private sector, who bring in their candidates, requesting Nimasa to employ them. Nimasa had in the past tried in many ways to make sure that the right people are employed. But recently, because of the area we wanted to recruit, like I said, professionals, we had to use consultants to make sure that this pressure is insulated from us.
Mr. Mbemena goes ahead to underscore the importance of the Functional Administration and Personnel Services Department to any organization, adding that for Nimasa, this will be particularly crucial as the agency embarks on a fresh recruitment drive nationwide.
The Admin and Personnel Services Department plays a very critical role for the realization of the agency's objectives. It is the department that is saddled with the responsibility of recruiting the right caliber of staff that will help Nimasa implement its functions. It is also responsible for not only recruiting but training of this staff, which is very critical in the areas of ensuring that staff have the requisite qualifications, the required experience and the competence to do their job.
He throws more light on the decision of Nimasa to deploy the services of independent consultants for the exercise.
We advertised through a consultant. The process is ongoing now. The interview is being conducted. After more than 85,000 people had applied, the consultant and Nimasa were able to select about 2,000 out of the 85,000 to make sure that in the end, it is only people who have the capacity and the competence to work in Nimasa are recruited.
Mrs. C.N. Wokocha is the Deputy Director for Human Resources at the Maritime Agency. Her department is entrusted with the responsibility of motivating members of staff through the establishment of diverse capacity building and maintenance packages.
We have very good work environment. The staff, the offices are well, are conducive for work to be achieved and, assist also in achieving the mandate of the agency. Then health-wise, there are good health packages for both the staff and their family. Then coming generally on specific incentives that, keep staff satisfied. Promotion is one thing that, is very important in a workplace. And I believe in this agency, promotion is given as at when due. And payment of salary is also prompt.
Mrs. Wogocha explains the specific areas that gave rise to the current need for recruitment at Nimasa, as well as the rationale for doing it now.
From all indication, we have dearth of professionals in those core areas like the marine environment, marine safety department, in search and rescue, in naval architects and surveyors, especially surveyors.
Nimasa's Assistant Director for Training, Bashir Jamo, maintains that the agency places high premium on capacity building as a proactive method of motivating its members of staff. Mr. Jamo explained that constant training of Nimasa's members of staff is key to the delivery of the agency's functions, adding that at the turn of every year, a gap analysis is conducted in every department to determine areas of need as well as specification of training are required.
Once we receive such gap analysis from the department, there are things we consult formal institutions within and outside the country. There are the ones that we can do it jointly with consultants and other professional bodies.
He also disclosed that a maritime training center was recently approved for the agency.
This maritime training center is going to take care of the basic needs of Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency staff training needs.
There is no gainsaying the fact that Nimasa, under the stewardship of Director General Ziakede Patrick Akpobolokemi, through this recruitment drive, seems to want to tie up the loose ends and ensure optimum performance in the crucial areas necessary for the fulfillment of its mandate. Going by the level of seriousness invested in the exercise thus far, it could only be a question of time.
And finally, we present to you the Maritime Cargo Report, which is basically a breakdown of cargo in ships expected to berth in ports within the Lagos Palliative District this week. Once again, this report is brought to you courtesy of the Shipping Development Department of Nimasa.
There are 16 motor vessel cargo ships expected to berth in the Lagos Pilotage District this week. Of that number, 8 has rice on board. There are motor vehicles in 2, with 1 each carrying general cargo, fertilizer, containers, wheat, corn and sugar. There are also 21 motor tanker vessels expected to berth within the Lagos Pilotage District this week. 13 of the ships have on board PMS or petrol. There are also 5 of them carrying Jet A1 or aviation fuel. 2 of them are conveying AGO or diesel, with DPK or kerosene on board 1 vessel. That's the Maritime Cargo Report for this week.
Now, every week we encourage our viewers to send in their comments or questions so we can answer any query you may have, and we do appreciate it. In my hand, I have a few comments from some of our viewers. The first being from Samuel Jiga from Oregun in Lagos State. And he says, this program is very good as it gives us a peep into the activities of Nimasa, which were hitherto unknown to many members of the public. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Samuel. We have a question from Akinjide Ogunwale. He's the MD CEO of ARC Trust Resources Limited in VGC Lagos. And he says, I just saw one of your episodes and it's very interesting. I would like to be notified of any workshops or seminars Nimasa is organizing. We will get, and the answer to that is, we appreciate your interest in the program and Nimasa workshops and seminars in particular. Nimasa organizes several workshops and seminars to bring its stakeholders abreast with changing trends in shipping. Just keep watching the program as we will be notifying our viewers of seminars and workshops scheduled in subsequent editions. So you heard it right here, Mr. Akinjide. All the information you need on subsequent seminars and workshops will be given to you here on the show. Now, we have a third question, and it's from Tom Baka from Makurdi in Benue State. And he says, very interesting program. Please, I want to know what Nimasa is all about. Tom, where have you been? But the answer is, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, was established by an Act of Parliament in 2007 to, amongst other things, promote the development of indigenous commercial shipping in international and coastal trade, and regulate and promote maritime safety, security, marine pollution, and maritime labor. In other words, Nimasa is the regulatory agency as well as a promotional one for shipping activities in the country that is recognized by the International Maritime Organization, IMO. And I sincerely hope that answers your question, Tom. But it doesn't matter how many times you have to keep answering answering these questions, it is our duty to keep you educated and informed. So don't forget, if there's anything you want to know, you have a comment about the show, there are questions about Nimasa that you need answered, please send your questions and comments to the email address currently showing on your screen. Now that's been our show for this week. I hope you found it enlightening and entertaining. Till I see you again, same time, same station, I'm wishing you smooth sailing and bon voyage.